NFL preseason continues later today, and how about this? It is time to put your money where your mouth is, NFL rookies. A handful of quarterbacks set to step in behind center. Of course, we've seen J.J. McCarthy play before, so not quite a rookie, but still a lot of expectations. We also get the #1 overall pick in Cam Ward and several other quarterbacks. Let's talk about it, as we've got Tyler Sullivan tapping back in with us, and we're now joined by Emory Hunt as well. Guys, looking at some of those young quarterbacks looking to set the tone on their careers when they take the field tonight. Emory, before we get there, though, because, again, I want to preface this by saying that it is preseason football, so we're not going to let our expectations get too big. So for you, a guy who watches a ton of football, what do you look for when you're watching these quarterbacks in preseason games?
Execution. At the end of the day, guys, it's about how you go out there and play in a non-practice setting, because you have the comfort in your mind of practice, like, okay, I can make a mistake, we'll do it again, we'll run it back, maybe even Riverside, flip it on the other side and go back the other way. But now in the game, there's no running back. There's no, hey, can I get a do-over? You have to live with the consequences of your actions and your play. And it's another way to test these guys mentally on, okay, how do they deal with adversity? How do they deal with the ability to have success? Because sometimes players can't handle success. They'll thrive and they'll be great, and then the next play they'll drop a ball. And how do they handle that? So I love preseason football. For these young guys, it's a great opportunity to go out there and perform, but also it's a great way to evaluate you, how you do in a game-like setting. All
right, we saw Shedeur Sanders answer their call last night. Let's see if Cam Ward can get it done against the Bucs today. Guys, we have seen all of the reports and the news coming around Cam Ward is that he is showing up early, he is staying late. They're having to kick him out of the building. Emory, when you think about, you know, just what the Titans were last year, the expectations of them going forward this year, is there reason to be excited for Cam Ward this season, or is this more of like a rebuild and just get his feet wet type situation?
No, you have to be excited. And the cool part about this, I've made this case for Shedeur Sanders. I'll make it for Cam Ward as well. I watched him since he started his first game at Incarnate Word when they upset McNeese in a great fashion. He blew those guys out. That was a top 5 team that they beat the doors off. And it was like, man, this guy has that attitude, has that it about him. And you see that every time he steps foot on the field. So I expect him to go out there and be Cam Ward in a Cam Ward way. The way he throws the football, the way he commands the respect of his teammates, the way he kind of challenges those on the other side of the ball to do their job. Hey, you can't stop me. This is where we run the football. I dare you to come in here and try to stop it. So those things gives you excitement about Cam Ward and what he can do as a player. I'm expecting to see the full Cam Ward on display in his first preseason game.
Yeah, I'm absolutely excited to see Cam Ward. He was the #1 overall pick. If we're excited about Shedeur Sanders, we have to be excited about Cam Ward. Again, #1 pick through the most touchdown passes in FBS last season. So, yes, excited to see him today, excited to see him as a rookie. And really, when we talk about the Tennessee Titans in overall for 2025, I am excited for Cam Ward. I'm excited for this team because they got such bad quarterback play a season ago. You look at, like, EPA per dropback, which is basically just efficiency at the quarterback position. Will Levis ranked 36 out of 36 eligible quarterbacks. Even if Cam Ward is just your average run-of-the-mill rookie, it's worlds better than what they were getting at the position a year ago. My biggest concern, though, will be the protection. We'll see some of that today as well, but obviously throughout the season, we've seen #1 picks deal with pressure, being pressured and sacked throughout the season. Caleb Williams is a great example, sacked a ton of times last season, 3rd most in NFL history. That kind of stunted his rookie season. The Tennessee Titans, they gave up 52 sacks overall last season, and they brought in Dan Moore Jr. to a big money deal. He let up 12 sacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers last season. So if they can keep Cam Ward upright, I think there's a lot of promise here to build for the future. If he's under duress, you might be seeing kind of a rocky rookie season.
Smelling a lot less mayo out in Tennessee. The Titans going to take on the Bucs at 7:30 Eastern. I mentioned J.J. McCarthy earlier, fellas. Not quite a debut for him. We did see him play in a preseason game last year before he had that season-ending knee surgery last year. Tyler, it seems like he's verbally embraced the challenge and the pressure that comes with being QB1. We've also seen him at practice, you know, doing well. But I'm wondering when that pressure, the added pressure of seeing what Sam Darnold did last year and having to fill those shoes, what that's going to feel like in real time. Tyler, where are our standards with J.J. McCarthy, especially since we've seen him play before?
Yeah, no, I think it's true. I think there's a ton of pressure on this kid, more so than some of these other quarterbacks because of where the Minnesota Vikings are. Like the Tennessee Titans are a great example. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL last season. I think the fans are expecting kind of a slow climb. The Minnesota Vikings, they won 14 games last year. Sam Darnold threw for over 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. I mean, he was lights out for the most part last year. So they're hoping that you can plug in J.J. McCarthy and not just replicate what Sam Darnold was able to do, but there are some people that are expecting him to be even better at that position because you have so many weapons around you. A good offensive line, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison after the suspension. You have Kevin O'Connell in your ear, a good defense led by DC Brian Flores. So there's a lot to like here for the Minnesota Vikings where they kind of feel like if everything goes right, you're in a Super Bowl window, might be too far of a stretch, but certainly in the playoff conversation. But if all of a sudden J.J. McCarthy is not that guy, you're talking about kind of a collapse of an organization that's missing their window. So yes, a lot of pressure is on him for a guy that hasn't really played a meaningful snap. I know he played the preseason last year for a time, but his last meaningful snap was in the national championship game at Michigan. So again, a lot on this kid, but there's a lot of upside here for the Minnesota Vikings if he hits.
I think the pressure is what we thought it was going to be for Caleb Williams. Remember how we said last year was an ideal situation for a young quarterback to step in, and the Bears should be able to, raise the floor and go to the postseason, and we saw how that turned out for Caleb Williams last year. Well, this situation for a guy in J.J. McCarthy is the same thing. It's a turnkey situation, and what he has in his favor that Caleb Williams didn't have is the fact that he spent the year in this system, learning the ropes, understanding the verbiage, understanding the checks and all of those things. So now, yes, they won 14 games last year. I think the floor for him, they better at least get 9 wins because he can just go in there and do exactly what he did at Michigan. Play your 111th, right? Hey, we're going to run the football. You got 2 great options at wide receiver. You have a great tight end, very good offensive line. Just play your 111th. When we need you to make at least 5 throws a game, just make those 5 throws. And I feel like J.J. McCarthy has to understand that. He did it before in college. They won a national championship. I think he can do the same thing here in Minnesota and kind of get these guys to play like they played last year, keeping them in playoff contention. Not saying they're going to win 14 games, but 9 should be the floor. I would give him 8 wins should be the floor, but 9 definitely should be the floor for a guy like J.J. McCarthy who has spent the year learning the system.
Well, there's certainly some excitement in our control room for our resident Giants fan. Of course, Jaxson Dart's going to get the start tonight against the Bills. Emory, you've been out at practice. You have seen him play both in the preseason, the offseason, all the things. What has you convinced that he is ready to step into this QB1 role tonight?
No, I think because they prepared him for this role. I had to listen first. I thought you were about to say QB1 for the season, but it's like, yeah, for tonight. Yeah, for tonight, right? So because Brian Daboll has a plan, Joe Shane has a plan, and they've executed their plan perfectly. They've gotten a lot of number 2 reps for Jaxson Dart because they know Jameis Winston, can thrive with the QB3 role and he can thrive as a QB2 during the regular season. So now is the time to get Jaxson Dart all of those reps with the 2s, and so therefore you can kind of get that development going. So him stepping out on the field tonight with the 2s, he's been practicing like this all spring and summer long, and it's a good part of the developmental plan because once the season starts, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Russell Wilson and then Jameis Winston, and then Dart will be the QB3. And he has looked the part in terms of fitting in. It doesn't look like a disaster when he's out there with the 2s. The offense is kind of functioning like an offense. He looks like a rookie, but at the end of the day, you like that he is not looking like a complete disaster. He's fitting in. He's making some good throws. He has the athleticism. So him hitting the ground tonight with those 2s and some of those 3s is going to look seamless for a rookie quarterback making his first start.
I'm rooting for Jameis Winston purely because he took us to church at practice this week, had Damian Harris and I in a praise break like a none other, but that quarterback room certainly interesting to watch. If it doesn't work out for Dart, by the way, I hear there's Love Island castings in the near future, so he's got a role there. Guys, we appreciate the time. The NFL is so close. We can almost taste it here on CBS. Our action returning to your television September 7th. Got a handful of really good games coming your way. Check your local listings. And as always, you can stream those games on Paramount+.